morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. It's been an eventful weekend. That was the very weekend that former Governor James Ibori returned to the country. In fact, returned to his hometown, to a tumultuous welcome straight out of completing his sentence in the UK. That's on the one hand. But I suppose the other thing that just about everybody must be, thinking about is the delayed return of President Muhammadu Buhari. He was expected to be at his desk on the 6th, that's tomorrow. But late, there was this communication that the president wasn't going to come in as scheduled, connected with the whole medical reason he was abroad. His doctors wanted him to, just tarry a bit so that some things could be completed. Okay, well, that's what we have, and the information came late yesterday. Of course, the first thing you think about is, hang on, what's going on here? Why is it that just when you're about to come home is when doctors now say you need to tarry a bit? Be that as it may, we'll be finding out a bit more about it. My guest this morning, I got Mr. Yemi Makpaderu, strategy and governance expert. Thank you as always, Yemi, for coming on.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And my friend, Chief Dr. Fassi Yusuf, who is a lawyer and communications expert. Thank you, Fassi, for coming on.
My pleasure, Yori.
Always. Let me start with you, Fassi. It's a great disappointment that the president has not arrived. People have been expecting him. We've been told it was a holiday, and as a result of that holiday, he'll just coincidentally slip in the whole matter of medical check. And now this news that it's going to be a bit longer. Some newspapers are going as far as speculating. They've inserted the word indefinitely into the common, straightforward message that it'll take a bit longer. What do you think, Fassi?
Honestly, I must confess that I'm nonplussed. Number one, information management has become something that we're not proud of again in this country. Number two, sincerity of government is called to question. Number three, there's no accountability, to my mind. And number four, the nation is being held to ransom. So let me start with the first one.
Actually, sorry, I'd like you to start with the last one. The nation is being held to ransom.
Yes, because we do not know what to believe. Okay. Should we believe the social media? Should we believe the information managers of government, and indeed the president? Or should we believe what we ought to believe inside us? That is, do we speculate on what is happening and therefore get ourselves informed about what we should think or what we should believe? So, to my mind, I find it difficult to really know what to actually believe and what to think of.
You know what? Let me hear from Femi Adesina, who was on this program and assured us that the president was going to be at his desk tomorrow. Good morning, Femi.
Good morning.
Okay, Yori here. Thanks for taking our call. Femi, this surprising news, you on the program, as you recall, just last week, telling us the president would be at his desk according to the best information you had at the time. What has changed?
Well, wise is that man who said, between the rising of the sun and the going down thereof, the face of things may change. You know that things do change. As of last week, even as at Saturday, we were sure the president was returning yesterday. But then, late yesterday, I got that communication from London that he would have to stay back a while more. And then what changed? Originally, we said he was going on vacation, and during the vacation, he would do some routine medical checkups. So those checkups brought up some things that need to be looked at further. And it's better he stayed back so that those things are looked at and treatment given if necessary than to come home and then return again. So that's why the president has to stay a little while longer out in London.
Femi, do we have something of a time frame, no matter how crude, that it might take a week more, it might take a couple of months more, whatever?
Yes. Why time frame was not included in that communication was because there is no vacuum in governance. The president transmitted a letter to the National Assembly before he left, and power was vested in the vice president, who is now the acting president. He can exercise all the powers the president can exercise. And in staying back further in London, beyond today, when he should have been at his desk, a fresh letter has been communicated, transmitted to the National Assembly. So there's no vacuum. Therefore, there is no need to put a time frame, and then that can then be another burden, because people will start counting. Oh, he asked for 5 additional days, he asked for 10 additional days, we are counting down. It's not necessary because there's no vacuum in the country.
Okay, Femi, could I ask you something? Again, here you are in Nigeria, the president is abroad, so I understand communication challenges, but the speculation out there is, it is what it is. Is the president ill?
You know, the difference between being sick and being ill. Ill is much more serious than the connotes terminal. Is there any cause to worry about the president? And my answer would be no. No. The president is indisposed, but I don't believe it is something that we must worry about. Rather than worry, I would say, yes, do we pray? Those that pray for the president that he recovers quickly. It's not as if he's ill, as in ill in terminal and unto death, as people have been speculating. No.
All right,
the president will come back by the grace of God. But you also know that human beings are liable to get sick. They can die, but they can also recover. So I believe that in this case, our president will recover.
Femi, finally, please, and thank you very much for taking our call. How do you feel, you and your colleague Garba Shehu, that is, because I read a communication from him this morning saying that he had spoken with the president's personal physician, and that all was well. Now, Femi, it's one thing to talk to a personal physician, it's another thing to talk to your boss. Why is it so difficult for you and your colleague to actually say to us, I spoke with the president?
No. You see, there is also in this kind of times, if you, for instance, I speak with London every day. This morning, just about 30 minutes ago, I've spoken with the chief of staff to the president, and he has given me an update.
Is the president incommunicado? No. Is the president incommunicado to you?
Let me finish. I spoke with the chief of staff about 30 minutes ago, who is in London with the president. If I told the chief of staff, now, can you give the phone to the president, let me speak with him? What does that connote? It connotes doubt. It connotes that I don't trust those who are around him who are giving me feedback. I just tell him, please give my thanks to the president. Without revealing everything, I was with somebody who the president spoke with yesterday. I was there. So that person is still going to speak, and he will confirm to Nigerians that he spoke with the president. But for me to now say, give the phone to the president, let me speak to him. It's an expression of doubt that I don't believe all those who are around him and all the information they've been giving me.
Okay, well, Femi, I did say finally, but between you and I, finally. Why doesn't the president do us a video?
We are working on something.
Okay.
But you know that it is the president's final decision. He has the final decision.
Okay.
But I'll say we are working on something.
Thank you very much, Femi. Really appreciate your taking our call.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me take off from where Femi stopped. You see, I was talking about accountability. Who is the employer of Femi? Who is the employer of the chief of staff? Who is the employer of Garba Shehu, the president? So why should Femi, the spokesman, who is supposed to be the closest person, the bridge between the president and the rest of the country, get information through another source? Who should be with the president more than the spokesman?
Well,
is it Femi or Garba Shehu?
Okay.
In this particular case, the nation has not been afforded the opportunity of knowing what is happening to the president.
Okay.
Is
Okay.
second information.
Okay, Fassi.
And honestly, as a journalist, as a communication expert, I'm disappointed the way the managers of information of the president are handling things.
Okay.
They are making things worse for the president.
Okay.
And by extension, Nigeria.
Now, this is your field anyway. You're communications
Yes,
expert.
and I teach it.
Indeed.
And I practice it.
Yemi, what do you make of Mr. Femi Adesina's, the conversation we had in terms of shedding a bit more light on the president not being at his desk?
Well, let me say I'm fairly impressed that the president's spokesman was courageous enough and respects Nigerians a great deal, that he could take a live call, which is not subject to any kind of editing and the rest of it. And I want to believe that to the best of his ability and to the best of information available to him. Of course, in the course of this interview with him, we have seen his limitations. He's not been able to speak directly to the president in recent times, or at least between yesterday and today. But again, I also understand the peculiarities of the kind of environment that he operates in. If he said he got information from the chief of staff, I could still work with that, because by structure, the chief of staff to anyone, the governor, the president, the chief executive, usually, determines practically everything that revolves around the president. In fact, in terms of structure, the personal aides of the president report to the chief of staff. So in terms of procedure, nothing is amiss in terms of, Femi getting information from, the chief of staff to the president. However, he also mentioned something which is very important, which I had in mind. But before I go to that, let me say that the concern being expressed by Nigerians is understandable, because we are talking about the president of Nigeria. And I've had a number of people actually alluding to a kind of deja vu that, we've been here before.
We've been down this road before.
But I see a lot of difference here. Number one, President Buhari communicated to the Senate about his impending vacation. He also constitutionally handed over the power of the office of president to the vice president.
So there is no vacuum.
There is no vacuum.
And I beg your pardon, I've got to interrupt you, but I'll come straight back to you after this commercial break. Stay with us, please. Welcome back. And so President Muhammadu Buhari's desk is still empty, but there is no vacuum, because there is, of course, a vice president, and everything has been handled. All the paperwork has been done and dried and dusted. Even this extension, it has all followed due process. The National Assembly has been communicated with, and so on and so on. But the country is worried. People are worried. I mean, how do I gauge that? Just look at social media, and everybody is talking about it.
I think it is more pronounced because of the advent of social media. Actually, I tried to do a search, and I find out that out of the 45 presidents that the United States had, at least 10 had serious ailments as president. And what we're experiencing now was also part of what was happening at that time, but not too prevalent because we're only relying on the mainstream media. But the challenge that the handlers of the president, I believe, has now, and even the president himself, because there is so much that the handlers can do if the president is not willing to cooperate, in terms of information dissemination. And don't forget, the personnel of the president suggests that he's somebody who pursues what he believes in. And if he doesn't think he owes us, or he wants to bother us with what is happening to him, there is nothing any of his handlers can do about that. But I think that in the next few days, we should be seeing clearly exactly what is playing out. But suffice to say that in a way, we have been given an indication of what is happening. And I also want to, I don't want to throw out the handlers of the president like a piece of cake, because if you look at the way they've at least tried to manage this, it's much better than the way we used to manage our public affairs before. The president was supposed to return to office today, and by yesterday, they came up with something. Whether it is the truth, the whole truth, or nothing but the truth, is a different kettle of fish.
Well,
but at least there is an understanding. There is a presence of mind that we need to know something.
Yes, presence
and
of mind.
At a point in time,
but minutes before being expected, which is another story, and people no doubt are going to take note of this, because people are going to look at the whole thing holistically.
You see, I'm trying to play the devil's advocate here, because I don't speak for the president.
I know,
but people also know me, that if there is a room for doubt, try to explore and ensure that you're actually spot on in your conclusion. What I'm saying in essence is this. There is a traditional saying, from where I come from, that if you are embarking on a journey, and because you look at the time, that time is fast spent, you return home without reaching your destination.
Yes.
What is the essence of that?
Indeed.
So if the president thought he needed 10 days, but it
His doctors
eventually
now say
that he needed more than 10,
yes,
must he come just to be seen to have kept to 10 days, and then we have a bigger problem in our hands? Like I said, I'm not paid to speak for the president. I wish I were, but
indeed,
I'm just trying to.
No doubt we shall be asking the president himself when he arrives why he put us in such suspense, why he kept himself away from us, just to sort of ascertain how is this going to run, because the president has advisors. Communications advisors, economic, everybody, political, but the ones of communication surely must have told the president that, Mr. President, the people are yearning to hear from you.
You see, my worry is this. I've talked about accountability of public office holders to the society. To my mind, nobody has any business in London save Femi Adesina or Garba Shehu. Not the chief of staff. The chief of staff should be on his desk, coordinating the office of the president and transmitting all the mails, all the district to the acting president. Not staying with the president there. Because ordinarily, the information manager of the president should be dishing out information on a daily basis. Gentlemen of the press, this morning, this is what the president is doing. Last night, he was with his doctor, and today we'll be seeing another this thing. We'll be going to the lab for this, for that. But for the spokesman to rely on a third person for information before disseminating that to the public, something is wrong. As a communication strategist,
yes,
something is wrong somewhere there.
Okay, but as a communication strategist, you will also concede, Fassi, that around the world, the matter of the health of the leader is a very, very serious matter. And oftentimes...
And subject to public scrutiny.
And subject to public scrutiny. So there's the will... Because
the president is not Yori, the president is not Fassi.
Yes. But because of apprehensions about an ailing leader anywhere in the world where we've heard of this, they have not come willingly, the officials have not come willingly to the public to say, this is the situation. So that is a fact.
So what do you expect? Do you want a situation where we are kept in the dark?
No.
Or
I'm just
we
saying
come
it
to
is
the public,
way it is.
And we subject everything to public scrutiny for the public to know. Look, we are human beings. Anybody can be sick at any time. But the president of Nigeria is a public property. is paid by taxpayers of this country.
He himself
So
was
whatever
there
he
much.
does, he has no secret.
Well, there is.
He has no secret. And I
Except
expect
if the
it. Look,
president.
listen,
maybe secret is not the word. Maybe privacy.
He has no privacy. He has none. He has none.
Okay.
And again, I must talk to the fourth estate of the realm at this stage.
Oh, okay.
They are not doing the job the way it ought to be done or the way we did it. Because one, I've not seen any media organization in this country or elsewhere that has been to London or that has laid siege in the president's apartment or the hospital to see that, look, I saw the president today. I saw the president coming out. Where has investigative journalism gone to?
Well,
what is happening?
Maybe
that's still there.
Maybe it's a fair point, but maybe again not. If Femi Adesina or Garba Shehu are right here with us, you're not asking that a journalist should do his investigative work. What I'm suggesting is that it looks like the president and his men, the president and all the president's men, don't want too many prying eyes and have taken measures to maintain that.
You know what's actually happening? Sincerely, is not peculiar. You know how long it took Fidel Castro to slump after a public appearance before it was finally admitted that he had an ailment. Everywhere in the world.
I disagree with you. That is a peculiar environment. It's a socialist country where the press is gagged.
It's not. It was only when Ronald Reagan died in 2004.
It's a socialist environment where the press is gagged.
I agree with you.
I agree
with you that
no
Cuba
free
may
press,
not be
no free press
fantastic.
in Cuba when Fidel Castro was holding sway.
You know what?
But so you think cannot happen in America?
No. You see, it does happen in America. But what you just pointed out what just pointed out now to the moderator about the press,
yes,
the independent press, playing a role is what comes in here. You don't actually find, spokesmen, handlers of leaders, of such magnitude, volunteering every information. But when an information that appears to be valid, that appears to have implications, grave implications for the government or for that establishment is about to come out from another source or is emerging from another source. At that point, they are forced to actually come out and say, yes, something like this is happening, but everything is under. We all know how this thing happens everywhere.
How it works. Okay, so sorry, I got to go to a break, and when I come back, we'll include your calls. Please stay with us. Okay, welcome back then. We're continuing with our program. The president is away, expected back anytime soon. And so here we are. As I'm speaking, I'm hearing that there's an action, some sort of action going on in Abuja. We'll cut to there as soon as we can, just getting the wires in a row and all of that. But we will take your calls in the meantime. So I had to interrupt you. Clearly, the handlers are working with what they have, which doesn't seem to be very much. And this probably goes back to the president, and we have heard.
Not adequate.
We have heard that, everybody has their own style. It is Mr. President's style that, for instance, this whole matter of a video interview that everybody is clamoring for, it's not Mr. President's style. Okay, maybe people should communicate to him that, sir, it's not about your style really, it's about your responsibility, it's about people. People want to see that you are what we say you are. But that's their challenge that they have right now. It's happening with...
So we should empathize with...
because Trump...
We should empathize with Adesina and Garba.
Well, quite frankly, if they had more, they'd give it. That's the way I'm looking at it. If they had more, they'd give it.
You see, without trying to jump the ship, the way I look at things is when it comes to the issue of accountability, as raised by Chief Dr. Fasi Yusuf, I think to a reasonable extent, you know, the presidency has been accountable by at least giving us information about the president. My concern is this. The time frame between which the president has been away, is it reasonable? If we judge it to be reasonable, then we can still, you see, I'm talking like a strategy and governance person, not, you know, a social commentator or a critic. So I want to look at a whole picture,
Okay.
like a
Okay.
bird's view.
Okay.
You know, now, if the timing gets unreasonable, necessarily we must become agitated.
Indeed. And perhaps that's where we are. Well, maybe Femi Adesina won't agree that we're at that point yet where the timing has got unreasonable. The president was expected today. He's just said to us that, in fact, there's no need to put a time frame to it because it's not that serious, according to him. We all heard the interview. Okay, but let's find out what that action is in Abuja that's going on. Our correspondent, Doshima Abu, is standing by. Hello, Doshima, can you hear us? Good morning, Doshima. It looks like it's a phone line. Oh. Doshima, okay, we can see you. I wonder if you can see us.
Can hear you.
Well, it does look like there are some challenges, but as soon as we can get... Doshima, good morning. What's going on behind you?
Yeah, basically, the pro-government protesters have been gathered here all day since morning. The protest rallying for the government. For them, they're out here not minding the scorching sun, saying that government has done enough and that government's promises have been fulfilled within the 18 months of governance. They are out in their numbers, many of them women and youngsters who came from different parts of the city to come here to support government's program. They say that government has done well in the fight against terrorism and that government is putting in place programs to push the country forward. This is definitely in contrast with what the anti-government protesters just some meters away from here are saying. For them, they're saying that government hasn't done enough and they're out against the government. But this one said that despite the protest happening just a few meters away from here, they're here to support the government. They also said that since the government came to power, the anti-corruption war has been very effective.
Okay.
We spoke to so many of them here, but there are also some of them here who are clueless about why they're here. Many of them told us with confidence that they were paid to come here without knowing the reasons why they're here.
Doshima, sorry, that last sentence, that last sentence again, some people are admitting that they were paid?
Yes, basically I just spoke to some few young people here who had both the anti and pro-government protesters tag with them, and I was asking them what they were doing here. Many of them are clueless, they didn't know what they're doing. So many of the women we spoke to said they are hungry and they cannot even stand up to march with the pro-government protesters. They said they are waiting to be paid their stipends and they cannot walk under the scorching sun. But meanwhile, some of the people we spoke to earlier told us that they were paid 1,000 naira to come here to support this group. That's how far we can verify, but many of them also don't know the reason why they are here. Basically, I asked them why they wanted to protest, what was the reason for their protest, but they said they don't have any clue.
They don't have a clue.
They were here.
Okay, they are very interesting, but Doshima, have you been able to find out who are the people behind the so-called anti-government protest and the so-called pro-government rally? Do you have an idea of the people behind either group? Well, I'm hearing that Doshima is not able to hear us anymore. Technical matter. Well, there we are. You could see. Okay, I don't know what. What do you think, Fasi?
Well, it's to be expected in institutions such as this. You have those for the government and those for against the government. And of course, there'll be some ROS.
That's what I wanted to find out.
ROS,
who are the spokespeople
the
for these
ROS
people?
usually mobilize people, unlike in other climes where people believe in spontaneous issues. They believe in
but
they are committed to
rallies are supposed to be spontaneous.
They are committed to their beliefs. But in Nigerian situation, when you talk about mobilization, you are talking about money, yes. naira. When you talk about influencing people, you are talking about naira. When you talk about lobbying in Nigeria, you are talking about money. So the game is all about money.
But this is so very untidy. This is becoming untidier by the day.
But it's been the case. Nigeria has not changed a bit. Like
okay, we're going to include your calls. You know, in fact, you probably can try and call in right now.
Like they will say those days, we have learned nothing and we have forgotten nothing. Because those people on the other side, if you give them money, they come to the other side.
Yes. Let's hear from Naomi, calling in from Magodo. Good morning, Naomi.
Yeah. Actually, honestly, I've been following what you've been saying on the program, and I must say that I'm really, really disappointed with this present government. In fact, with the last pro-government protest we saw, it says it all. Honestly, this government has to sit up because they are losing their credibility. This was not what we voted for. With the whole saga that has been going on over the week, trying to threaten people to stop the protest, then with cancelling the president's return just a few hours when he's expected. This is, in fact, it's so bad. I just hope that the party, the ruling party, know what they are doing, because 2019 is just a few years, away.
All right.
So they shouldn't think that they can hold us to ransom.
Thank you very much for calling in, Naomi. The situation is what it is. People are moving in, but it's a problem because here we are looking for credibility in the main question about why the president isn't here, and we have credible spokespeople for the president, and we're having to work with what they have, unless they're going to manufacture, which is manufacturing for which is an absolute no-no. And then this. So how do we now view all of this?
I've told you, Yori, and I've said
you said we learn nothing.
We have a docile press. We don't have to rely on the spokespersons of a public functionary to get information.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do away with the freedom of information. Let's do away with Section 22. Let's do away with Section 39 of the Constitution. The press, since time immemorial, is there to source for information.
So you think the press is falling down a bit?
It's docile.
Okay. Mr. George, good morning, and thank you for calling in.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Uncle Yori, the first question I would like to ask is whether there is a portion in the Constitution that says the president must disclose the nature of his ailment, even when he admits that he is sick. Somebody says he is sick, he wants to treat himself. People are saying he must tell us the nature of the sickness. Even such people, these are the same people that have publicized that they want him dead. If I were the president, I will not bother myself telling them the nature of my ailment. I am sick as your president. I think that should be enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those who are asking for all this detailed information, they are looking for it for illicit purposes. Even if you disclose today it is malaria I have, they will turn the malaria to something else.
Mm-hmm.
People can wish I know that their president is dead. They are not people you should be addressing or you should be talking to. That's my view on all this.
All right.
What is governance? They are the people, it is the corrupt that are wanting this man dead so that the corruption fight will end. For us, who are concerned about corruption in this country, it will not end. Good morning.
Thank you very much for calling in. It's an interesting point that Mr. George makes in there, because in the midst of all of this, there's propaganda coming from both sides, and there is the truth of the matter. Maybe the way protesters will put it is another thing. But gains, inroads are being made. The important thing is that there is no vacuum. It's just the same as if Mr. President was here, but all of this dust and haze has been whipped up. Now, I'm not saying it's not important, but governance is not suffering.
I must tell you very frankly, it's suffering.
You think?
Yes.
But
as a lawyer,
but
and as someone that has seen the inside of
administration has been properly handed over to his vice.
Yes. You see, if you're acting, you will be circumspect in certain things that you do. You cannot be seen to be derailing the actions and inactions of your master. Because at the end of the day, it comes back to that position. He deals with you. With profound respect to the vice president, he has certain limitations as acting president. It's different from being a substantive president. To that extent, we're not saying somebody cannot be sick, but for God's sake, let us see you. Tell us.
Maybe because we're all human beings, and so we talk about these things. Because
no, because
the central matter.
President is different from you and I.
Yes.
It's different from the chairman of TVC.
Indeed.
He is number one citizen of this country, and we all look up to him.
And that has to be factored.
He's carrying all the problems of this country on his head.
He symbolizes.
And just to tell us that, look, I'm not in the position to carry your problems for now.
Okay.
I'm taking a rest. And this is me live.
Okay.
And again, I've invited 2 journalists from Nigeria to confirm that I'm alive. I've talked to Ben TV in London. That's an independent source.
In short, do all he can to allay fear.
Yes. And
okay.
I'll make the job of Garuba Shehu and
Femi
Adesina quite easy.
Doable. Okay, stay with us. I'll take a break, and then we'll come on to the home stretch. Okay, welcome back. You know, our focus is on the president not having arrived yet, much to the disappointment of millions and millions and millions of Nigerians. Of course, the critics, you know, are also taking it as viable ammunition. Now, Femi Adesina said when he was on the program, and I think he also implied it when we spoke at the top of the program, that, look, the president is a man after his own mind. And it's not all that he agrees with by way of advice. Now, that's fine. As long as, for instance, the first stretch was he'll be at his desk on Monday. And we were saying to ourselves, wait for that time. If at that time you don't see him then and then. So I suppose now that this time has come, the president probably now needs to consider breaking that tradition of his of, as we are told, not wanting to speak to via video to Nigerian citizens. I think he might now begin
video
to
is not
consider.
enough. I've told you. Video is not enough.
Let me quickly take Mr. Okoroafo, Comrade Okoroafo. Good morning, Mazi Okoroafo.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, our guests.
Good morning.
Mazi Patrick Okoroafo from Blue Village. Honestly speaking, my own is I'm just going on Nigerians. Let us borrow a leaf from the Israelites. When things were not moved, when they moved from Egypt to Israel, what happened? They complained to God and prayed fervently. God answered their prayer. That is what we need. Because whether we protest or we don't protest, that does not solve the problem. Now, let us ask ourselves. We belong to each state, we belong to each local government. All those our representatives, what are they doing? If they will come now and help us and cushion the face from our local, then we talk about it will help us. All this is gradual we are doing will not stop at Nigeria. We should pray and ask God to have mercy because we have seen, everybody in Nigeria has seen. Let us ask God for mercy. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day.
Thank you very much. So, as we're talking, we're discussing this, the communication aspect of it is one thing, but there's also the political aspect of it because this is being grabbed hold of. We've both said here, Fasi has said it's tardy, it's untidy in terms of communication strategy. God knows what the limitations are. And the critics have grabbed hold of it and are really running with this whole thing and causing a lot of noise. It's not a satisfactory situation. So what do we do?
Well, for me, let me just say that we just need to try to put ourselves in certain shoes.
Yes.
And then we will see more clearly.
Yes.
I'm also not averse to those who are criticizing, who are expecting so much more. But the truth of the matter is that when there is an issue on ground, there are three perspectives to it. There are those who respond because of concern. Mm-hmm. There are those who respond or react because of interest. Mm-hmm. And there are those who respond or react because of ambition. And the least problematic people are those who are expressing their views and responses and reactions based on concern, because it is altruistic, it is assumed to be altruistic. And so the president and his handlers are mindful of all of this in everything they will do. Not just this president, yes. Every president. Don't forget, I've not put all our presidents on a treadmill to know who is the fittest. Yes. But based on perception, people will tell you that perhaps former President Obasanjo appeared to be the most energetic of the presidents we have had, including military heads of state. But at a point, he also had this issue. Twice in his tenure, issues about his health, about health concerns came up. Yes. That wasn't seen for a few days.
And no, it's not a small job. So you look at it, everybody remembers how black Obama's hair was when he went in. And everybody saw a complete head of white coming out. So let me take Blessing. Good morning, Blessing.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Nigeria. Please, sir, nobody wants the president to die. But I want us to remember, this is how Yaradua issue started. That is why people are worried. We are not saying that our president should die. If I should take my time and go and queue and vote for him, I don't pray for him to die. So people should get that straight. And he's our president. He's accountable to us. He has every right to tell us what is going on. He did not put himself in that office. We are not contesting. But secondly, sir, please, whatever that comes to us as Nigerian citizens is the way our leaders see us. That is why they treat us. Because now, Mr. Yori, if I have the opportunity, let me give you the price of things in the market. Mr. Yori, people cannot eat in their house. Can you imagine, somebody is doing amala, and she just went inside, another neighbor picked the amala. They are using it to touch water and swell and eating it, so that you know how bad things are in the country. And now we are asking of our president. Some people are saying that we want him to die. I will have prayed that my president should die. It's unfair. They should tell us something. The hardship is too much. It's too much, Mr. Yori. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much for calling in.
I think there's an assumption here. There's an assumption here that, because I can't find a correlation between, if we discuss the economy and the state of the economy of Nigeria, is a different ballgame. We are discussing the delayed return of the president. People are assuming that the moment the president comes back, things will normalize. Things got this way before the president left for, his vacation. So it's not going to change anything. But like I insist, within a reasonable time, and we are free to determine what that reasonable time is, if the president remains incommunicado within a reasonable length of time, and by my own account, if he asks for 10 days, if he took another 10 days more, then people I will begin, to fear the worst.
Maybe so if it is possible, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. And like Mazi Okorafor also said, if we beam the kind of searchlight that we're beaming on the president, on the local government chairmen, who are even closer to us, our representative in the state House of Assembly, look, the same people who are asking where is the president were the ones who welcomed a former governor with the tumultuous. So you begin to wonder what exactly do we want? Do we want good governance? Or do we just want to see when our president, is having whatever with his wife?
When he's indisposed. Tony from Ajah, I believe. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
Yes. I don't know. People are kind of confused now about the kind of information they want to get about the country. You know, some people are asking about the whereabouts of the president. Some people are talking about the economy. But I think the biggest challenge we have is the economy. I think if people are not disagree the way they are now, I think a lot of people might not bother too much if the president is in the country or not. So people just need to be clear about what they want exactly at this moment. The kind of information they want to get.
Yes.
Because the issue is he went for vacation, and he said from there he's going for medical checkup. He used his holiday for medical checkup. So I think the issue of the information of the president is whereabouts and the protests that are going on in the country. I think they are two different things.
Indeed.
People are protesting because of the economy. And I think the main problem Nigerians are having is not really about the whereabouts of the president, whether he's in the country or not. So I think if we get the two things clear, just like what the guest is saying.
That is exactly the point that Yemi addressed before you came on. Thank you very much for calling in.
Regrettably,
yes.
You see, that kind of posturing is simplistic. There is a correlation between governance and economy. And the leadership tells us what happens to governance and what happens to the economy. I've said it here, that yes, the vice president in every material particular is qualified. So he won't be over president if there's any word for that, like that, of the country.
But
it's
as an acting president,
it's constrained because it's in acting capacity, and therefore there's a limit to
I totally agree.
What he can do. So if the president is around, it makes a lot of difference. But we're not saying that he must be around at all costs. But let us have unfettered information. Let the media move away from docility to activism, and to be able to say, look, we want to be futuristic. Let us know. We can't TVC should be able to sponsor a journalist, or you have a correspondent in London,
or NTA,
to be able to know. They may not even believe NTA.
Okay,
They will not even believe NTA.
So we've completely run out of time, gentlemen. So thank you very much.
To perform.
To do better.
Yes.
From your perspective.
I'm talking about journalists.
As a communication
from a communication point of view.
I understand fully why he's concerned about that. And sincerely, if the independent press can do much more, I'm sure social media would not be having a field day.
And maybe the president, if the president is watching this, maybe Mr. President, maybe you could just consider the yearning of people and do that video. Do a 2-minute video, 1-minute video.
I said video is not enough.
I know.
Right here in the independent press.
I know.
There is something I'm missing here. I think the acting president also has a role to play in all of this. But if the acting president comes out to say, the chief of staff cannot stop the acting president from speaking with the president. So if the acting president comes out to say, I spoke with the president, is all right.
That would have its own communication value as well.
Yes,
thank you very much, Yemi Makpadirun and Chief Dr. Fasi Yusuf. Thank you, gentlemen, as always, for giving us the benefit of your insights into this matter. Tomorrow is another day. We'll be back for a fresh edition. I'm Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.